All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, Week 9 of the Thursday Night Football Showdown show. We've got the Titans, Steelers, an ugly one, but we'll get to it. Someone said in the chat, ugly games need love too. I like that one. We'll bring in my guy, Hoop and Title, here in a second. Before we do, I want to get you guys just to hammer that like button for us, subscribe to the channel, and for sure, right now, remember this, we're giving away a 6-month membership to the SHIPITNation.com site. We'll show it after, but you have to subscribe to the Ship It Nation YouTube station, and we're just shy, but I'm confident you guys will get us there today. When we get to the number 4,000 later on in this show, we'll be giving away the 6-month membership to somebody random watching. It was at about 20 short when we first got there, so check that out. And then very quickly, want to remind you guys, this show is brought to you and presented by Run the Sims. You can go to runthesims.com, use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off. Bring in my guys. Hoop, I'll start with you. It is an ugly one, 37-point total, but it went up 0.5 from 36.5. So talk to me about this one. How you doing on this Thursday afternoon, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an ugly one, and it's, one that we're not excited necessarily to watch. And the disappointing part is, like, there's a lot of these nasty games on the slate this week, and then you're like, oh man, there's the Chiefs and Dolphins. We have one good game, and that is at 9:30 Eastern in Germany, 6:30 on the West Coast. So the best game of the week by far, we're probably not going to be watching. You definitely shouldn't be watching that one, because you should be tuning into our Sunday morning show, which kind of matches up perfectly with that time. So don't watch that one. Make sure you're joining us. But in terms of this game tonight, it's ugly. I guess the one thing, I think there is some hope, maybe. I mean, we do have some pieces. Like the Titans offense looked a hell of a lot better with Will Levis at quarterback last week. DeAndre Hopkins had the big game. They're able to at least move the ball. So it's looked better than anything that Tannehill has provided with us with this season. So I think there is a little bit of hope on the Steelers side. Deontay Johnson looked pretty good last week at 14 targets. Obviously, that was with Trubisky. It sounds like Pickett's going to be good to go today. Practiced yesterday. I don't know. He's not even on the injury report, so we'll be back to Pickett. But Deontay Johnson, Pickens, there are some options here. So I'm holding out hope that we get something somewhat interesting tonight. But man, if it's ugly, I'd definitely be willing to pull the plug at halftime.
Yeah, we got the news pretty early too, so at least we kind of have an idea. Hopkins the same way on the other side, obviously coming off a huge week for him. So Will Levis and the DeAndre Hopkins connection. Title, bring you in, man. We're going to do this as always. We'll get to those captains. We'll do the grand scheme overview. We'll break down positions, talk about FanDuel, do the sim segment at the end. But Title, I'll bring you in first. A lot of familiar faces in chat. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doing well. Football on Thursday, NBA in full swing. Been going very well over here. But yeah, this slate. So yeah, it's a gross game, 36.5 total, all of that. But in terms of showdown and stuff, I actually like these more because you can leave a lot of salary. You can play really random stuff at captain and stuff. Talked a little pre-show, but if it's a 17-10 game or something like that, you can see some crazy lineups win for sure. So yeah, I think there's multiple ways you can go in the captain spot. You can leave some salary. It's very close spread, low total. But if you look at roster construction wise, Pittsburgh definitely will be heavily owned than the Titans. 5-1s, 4-2 Pitt, I think, is more popular. It's not just a 3-3 close game, low total. But yeah, multiple options. I'm excited to talk through this one, and wouldn't be surprised to see a solo shipper less than 10, something like that on a slate like this.
That is the one thing that's possible, right? That's one of the things that you could see where, you get a slate that's quote unquote ugly, but we don't care. The money might not be ugly when it shows up at the end of the night. So double defense, Mario, we'll talk about that later. There's definitely the first time all season maybe that I'll talk about it. But again, guys, I have to remind you about this one. Looks like we're about 20 subscribers shy. If you want the giveaway, we always ask for the like button. Subscribe to the Mayo Media Network for hosting these for sure. But do us a favor, just quickly open another tab or go on your phone and search it, Ship It Nation. Go to the Ship It Nation YouTube station and subscribe. once we hit 4,000, we're giving away the 6-month membership. I'm confident that you guys will come through. Almost 100 people watching already. I'm sure that you can get the job done for us. So check that out. And then lastly, if you guys do want to subscribe to ShipIt Nation, you can go to shipitnation.com. Use the code MAYO, gets you 10% off to try it out. You can use that on any of the plans that we've got set up over there. So try that one and go from there. It was a huge week last week. I know, like, again, Hoop, myself, we had big weeks, live final tickets, 100K scores, but the members, man, like, look, could be Travis, 100K. Our guy, JB1515, he, a DFS Juice, I think it was, he put $18 into this $9 on FanDuel, 80K out. He even won the Hulu Live TV Football Challenge. So
yeah, that's key.
that's key. The icing, the cherry on top, $200 into 9K for Latte Larry. Wally Boa shipped the single entry. We had OG Joe, biggest effing day of my life, 600 into 28K. We had T Jones, who crushed it for 22,000, said, I guess that year-long membership I got last week is covered. Yeah, that'll do it. So lots of those and more. Of course, our guy D-Dry, who won the Millie a couple weeks ago, goes on a NBA heater now last night, 2 wins, like 46K in NBA. But Hoop, talk to me, man. Anything else you want to mention there? If not, you can get into your first thoughts on this game.
Just some random comments in the chat that I wanted to address real quick. Yeah. This is one of the first comments of the day here. I need a win tonight so I can buy back my grandma's wheelchair I hawked. That is interesting. Like, we've all chased. Like, you know, you lose in gambling or sports betting and you're chasing to get some of that money back. But to chase the money to get grandma's wheelchair is certainly a new one. And then our guy said,
sometimes if you don't ship it, you got to flip it. So you take it in, you flip grandma's wheelchair, and then you ship it, come back, and flip it back out. So
ship it to flip it. Then our guy wants to watch his wife's gray hairs would be more entertaining than tonight's game. I don't think your wife would appreciate that. Or tweeze the gray hairs. Yeah, even worse.
Oh man, so this is incredible stuff.
Interesting comments. I guess that goes to show the expectations for tonight's games.
Someone else was worried about our guy. Hopefully he shows up this show. But our guy Double D, by the way, did not.
Oh yeah, what was your number last week? By the way, I just looked down.
I can't tell you because I'm going to keep the same number. But for the sake of the show, I need you and Title to write down a number. We're going to go, R.I.P. Bob Barker, but we're going to go the closest without going over. If he shows up and tells us what number he's at, he won't know what we've chose. So he'll throw his number in. Closest without going over wins the little friendly bet we've got going here. Shout out to DGA. She said, look at all these winners. I want to say she reminded me, and for anybody out there watching, last chance to get into King of the Beach. Title, myself, a bunch of other members, Marley, lots of our members, Lay the House RM, Chad Candles, bunch of others. I can't remember all the names that are in there, have these King of the Beach seats. And this week is the play-in, the top 75 of 250. Mayo has his ticket. I'll be on his show on Friday, and we'll talk about it there. But we got lots of people we know and love in this tournament. So if you want to go get one, there is a $20 five max. So you can just throw one in there tonight. Give it a shot. You could have a chance to get in there, and then hopefully a bunch of us can get through and all meet up down there. But definitely excited to get into this one. Hoop, if you're ready, man, we can start talking about it. Let's do, as always, grand scheme overview. Ugly total, but how do you see this game actually playing out? What do you see happening here? And then break down some of your captain's plays.
Yeah, I'm a little more optimistic that we could see some offense here tonight. And, it is ugly. And there is routes where it is very ugly. Don't get me wrong. Like the 17-10 number that you threw out, I think is definitely in the realm of possibilities. A little more hopeful. Like you got Levis at quarterback now. He looked much better than Tannehill or whoever the other dude is. DeAndre Hopkins looks solid. Derrick Henry is not the most exciting guy anymore, but 2 touchdown upside on the Steelers side. Deontay Johnson, I said 14 targets last week. George Pickens has the big play upside. I think there is a chance that we do see some scoring here. Is it likely? Probably not, but I think it's in the realm of possibilities. Just makes it tough for roster construction when you're looking at this game, because if it is low scoring, that brings everything into play. Like Title kind of said, you bring in the defenses in, you're bringing the kickers in, you're bringing, anything into play. So I think I might be building again. I haven't decided yet, haven't built any teams, but I think I might be building for points tonight and just hope that, some of these guys get there, because each side does have some playmakers. So in terms of the captains, I mean, on these slates that could potentially low scoring, got to look at raw points. And the best way to get points is quarterbacks and then pass catchers. So, Pickett and Levis for sure in the captain. DeAndre Hopkins coming off that big game. Good with him in the captain. And I do like the price tags on a guy like Hopkins. I got him way up there at 11-2. So if you want him in the captain, you're going to have to sacrifice some things in your lineup. Deontay Johnson's game fits. He fits DraftKings scoring so well with all the receptions. Good with him, and it's a good price, 8-4. You put him in the captain, you still have a lot of salary that you can spend. Him in the captain, you still have like 7,500 per spot, so like you can play solid guys around him. I mentioned Pickens, and then like Derrick Henry, I don't love, but I mean, he's got two touchdown upside. Like if he gets the 2 touchdowns, like you're going to need him in there, and he's way up there at 11-6. So it's a big boy price tag for a guy like him. Probably, to be honest, prefer him in the captain. We've talked about this before with certain guys. Probably just prefer him in the captain opposed to the flex because, that 11-6 price tag, like it's a big boy price tag. He's got to do something really big to pay it off, and then he'd probably be necessary in the captain. So I'll probably prefer him there in the captain over the flex. But again, you can play a variety of guys in the captain. If you think this is a low scoring slate and the top scores, 17, 18 fantasy points, which is in the realm of possibilities, then that brings the defenses in and potentially the kickers. I really don't like playing kickers in this stadium. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be cold tonight. A lot of times there's wind here in Pittsburgh, so probably not the kickers. Honestly, if you were going to do something different in the captain, it would probably be defenses for me over the kickers. But I'm going to focus on the playmakers and just hope that we get some offense tonight.
All right. Yeah, I think that will be different. The chat mentioned that for sure. I'll talk about it more in a second, but Title, I'll kick it to you. Your first thoughts, your grand scheme overview, and then you can talk a little bit about your captain plays and the ways you're seeing it shake out, and then I'll save mine for the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on Hoop Side kind of where I'm going to be going to the skill position players more at the captain, then the Pickett's, the Levis. I don't think if you go, like, if I make a rule, Pickett captain again, I don't make many rules, but showdown the captain spot with the quarterbacks and the few spots I do. I think I'm just going to go if Pickett captain or Levis captain, just at least one pass catcher because Pickett can use his legs a little bit. Levis also can use his legs a little bit. I don't think they have enough rushing upside to get there without a pass catcher. But saying that again, in a low total, if it's a 10-7 game and only takes one rushing touchdown, you could get there, I guess, with no pass catchers. But my lean right now, more skill position. Don't like the quarterbacks as much. If I do, it'll be at least one pass catcher. My favorites, Deontay Johnson, Pickens, Henry, and D-Hop. Obviously, that's not a hot take by any means, but when you dig into it more, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, already saw people messing with Najee. Yeah, this probably is. I should probably boost Najee on this. The showdown on an island. Hoop's been jagging him all the time.
I haven't mentioned his name yet. I have not.
I know it's coming though, but he is dusty. I'm on Hoop's side, but it just feels like one of those. And when you throw so much shade, island game, it's gross. He gets there, but no, I like Warren more. The backfield's tough there. Like Tajee Spears, Chigakonku's looked awful. Like Westbrook Akine, Traylon Burks has been non-existent. Like you just keep going down through some of these options. I don't want to click their name at captain. So I know D-Hop, he gets a big bump with Levis. Levis actually will push the ball downfield as he showed last week. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, most likely to score plus 140 to get in the box. That's most likely, like I said, plus 165 Pickens, plus 175 Najee, plus 190 Warren, plus 185 Deontay, the top ones, all below plus 200. But this feels like a Henry spot. I think they're going to want to try and Levis did throw for 4 touchdowns, but he didn't even throw it over 30 times. He just was really efficient with those. So I do think Tennessee going to try to establish it on the ground. But yeah, the more I talk about it, there's just Deontay, Johnson, Pickens, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins. Those 4 I know have the upside, will be there. Very concentrated target, and I can leave salary and maybe go 3-3. Like I said, I think Pittsburgh 5-1 and 4-2 will be the most popular builds today, even with a pretty close spread, just due to pricing, and there's more options than the Tennessee side.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out for me for sure, just, everything you just said was, I'm closer with you on that. And I know that it's funny because you said you were closer with Hoop, but I'm actually saying, like, I think it's more that you would see. So first of all, I don't see a lot of punts on this slate or anywhere. So with that said, second of all, if you have points in this game, I think that's actually where quarterbacks would be more possible in the captain, because if it goes low scoring, then the Hopkins with a touchdown, 10 catches and 100 yards is enough. If it goes Pickens in a low scoring game, it may just be all the stuff he gets because now Pickett is back in that. But these quarterbacks can both spread it out. Like Pickett can use Pickens. He can use Hayward maybe. Now we'll see how that goes. You can use Deontay. You can throw it to Warren, who I was thinking of there too. So if it's going to be a higher scoring game, it is more likely it can get spread out versus if it's a low scoring game, you probably just need it. If Najee has 2 touchdowns, you need Najee, even if the score is low. If it's Derrick Henry with the touchdowns, you need him. The score is low. So I think that's one thing I would note, that if you are going to go with more points and scoring, I would consider the quarterbacks, because I think the most popular are going to be, and I have them the same way that Title said it, with Hopkins, Henry, Pickens, Deontay, the 4 that you expect to be up there. So with me going a little lower scoring, I'm going to take some kind of like sets like I always do. I like those guys. I like the 2 running backs for Pittsburgh because you don't know who it's going to be. I'm going to wait and get hoop stats in a second, because usually it's open up the dictionary and look to the encyclopedia, look to the picture next, and you see Dak, and then you flip the page and Najee's there. So see what he says on that one. And then I actually said it, but if you have a low scoring game, I'll definitely play some of the defenses tonight, because that'll let me just fit all those raw point PPR floor ceiling combinations in with something that actually would make sense if it's lower scoring as well. So I don't hate that either. So Hoop, I'll go back to you. Any further captain thoughts or game theory perspectives, and then also running backs, talk about them.
Just a couple, just want to touch on a couple of comments in the chat. Oops, not this one. Man, it keeps moving on me here. Like this, probably bad take. D. Henry, awful home away splits, and then there was something similar down here about Will Levis, rookie on a short week going into Pittsburgh, tall task. I get all that stuff, definitely do, but we can't be picky tonight. We just don't have that choice. I mean, we got a game with a 36 total. We're looking for, just raw fantasy points. Who can get us some fantasy points tonight? I definitely get all that, the trends, things like that. Got to throw that stuff out the window tonight, because again, we just can't be picky on this slate. We just don't have the fantasy options here tonight.
What if I do want to be extra picky tonight and play Pickens with Pickett combinations in the captain?
Always has it, man. Just man, I got to be careful what I say now. I can't serve you up with your little with your things.
It's okay. You do it. I'll stick to that stuff. You do your job and tell us how dusty Najee is. But give us your takes here. Najee, the running backs in general, because Warren's there on his side, obviously looks pretty solid, and then you've got Spears on the other side that people want us to talk about as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my Najee take today is probably going to surprise some people, and I do think the guy sucks. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, honestly, it kind of plays into this comment here. It's Najee time, 2 touchdowns. Like, as much as I hate the guy and think he sucks, and he does suck, he's not very good. But this is a slate where if he gets into the end zone, like, you probably need him. Like, if you are believing the total tonight of 36, and we're looking at limited touchdowns, every touchdown is that much more valuable. And if the Steelers get pass interference in the end zone, the ball's at the 1, he scores a touchdown, he's probably optimal for flex. Now, I'm not going to play him in the captain. There's no way I'm clicking Najee Harris in the captain. Don't get me wrong. I will click him, though, in the flex, where, again, if he finds a touchdown, if he finds the end zone, you probably need him. So for that reason, I will reluctantly play Najee in the captain. Not in the captain, sorry, in the flex. Let me clarify that. In the flex. Jaylen Warren, though, I want some of him. I mean, if they're playing from behind, he can get the dump off, score so much better on DK. Probably I'm not going to play either of those guys in the captain, but in the flex, yeah, I'm fine playing both. Definitely prefer Warren. I think he's just a better running back, and his game kind of fits DK scoring better. But I will say, last week, Najee, I believe it was like 5 targets for Najee Harris. Let's see. Yeah, 5 targets, different quarterback. But yeah, if he's going to be involved there, I guess it's even more of a boost. But yeah, I'm fine with those guys in the flex. Obviously, Derrick Henry, again, on a potentially low-scoring slate, have to consider him. And then Tajay Spears at 5.4K, I'm fine with him. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing all these running backs because, man, you start going low and looking at some of these lower-priced options, I mean, man, you're just not going to want to click those names. So, yeah, fine with them, but, everyone in the flex outside of Henry.
All right, I got to give this one up. So it could be Travis. Shout out the projection team for my homie, ToeTagginTambo and SHIPIT Nation crew. He won 100K. You can see behind the 100K, the 3 little bubbles. think he was in for $45 on that afternoon slate using the projections, checking it out over there. So I got it on the wrong setup here. I'll go back though, but he's here. Listen to this guy. This is like our guy Double D, man. This might be the thing. You have to be like in a crane or something or at a factory. This guy said, tuning in from the crane as always, 150 feet up and 100K richer, right back to work. Shout out to Could Be Travis. He says the projection team at SHIPIT Nation. You guys want to join? We've talked about it enough, but do it. Go over to SHIPIT Nation. Use code MAYO. Get you 10% off your first trial, whatever you want to give a shot to. So check it out. This is the time to do it now. Love to see it. Could Be Travis. And right back at work, grinding it out. That's awesome. So anything else for you there, Hoop? If not, I'm going to let Title take over and go with his side on the running backs.
Yeah, good.
Okay, go ahead, Title. Your thoughts.
Yeah, Titan side's easy for me. I definitely love Derrick Henry, and just naturally, I'm not going to get as much Tajee Spears. I think Tajee Spears is a very good real-life player. It's just the opportunity. He doesn't get as many passing downs. He's going to be in there, but he's priced up there. He's 5.4K. Let me double check that price. Yeah, 5.4K. I prefer Warren a lot more for 1,000. I prefer like the Haywards. We'll get to the punts and some of the pass catchers. Is at that price behind Henry. It's really mainly just going to be Henry. In the flex spot, I think Tajee's fine. Don't like him at the captain. The Steelers side is definitely the hard part. And you mentioned it earlier, Tambo. I mentioned my favorite 4 captains. But if I had to add more, it would be these Pittsburgh running backs just because, well, A, there's not much scoring that we're expecting on this slate. You look at the touchdown props. These two both third and fourth highest. It goes Henry, Pickens, and then 175 for Najee, plus 190 for Warren. Deontay's there, plus 185. But outside of that, you're going to get plus 300, plus 360, plus 450. There's only so many guys that have a good touchdown prop that you know are going to be on the field in this close game. I think both teams are going to try and run the football, Pickett. They don't want Pickett dropping back 40 plus times off injury. Don't want a rookie Levis dropping back. So I like Warren more. It just feels like everything that's been going on, all this shitting on Najee, the island game, it feels there. But I'm going to be mixing both of them in at captain, mixing both in at flex. I do prefer Warren, though, for the price discount, and I just think he's a better player in general. But if I had to go more than 4 captains, it would be the 2 Pittsburgh running backs that are my next favorites, even ahead of the quarterbacks.
Congrats on the 100K, Brian. Good job. I'm in a crane, too, he says. The crane crew, man, that's what you got to be in. That's the perfect setup. DJ is always digging in. She says not one showdown slate this year. Every single game, there's been 0 kicker captain still. I thought we had one. I thought there was who was that kid? Wasn't it in like the Dallas game a couple weeks ago or something? I thought, or maybe it was that the New Orleans game, like Grun or whatever that guy's name is. I can't remember, but I thought we had one. Maybe it was close and it didn't actually get there.
No, it did. I can't remember. Was it? Oh, man, what game?
She'll know. Remember. Also, you can get to 19 points, 2 touchdowns, 2 pats. You got the 1 field goal and a safety. These are bad quarterbacks, good defenses. So you could see that at 19 points. Definitely possible. And this guy said, man, he's 476 feet up in the air. So, wow. That's interesting. So you're in the crane crew. You got a good shot at tonight. I don't have much else on those running backs. I think Spears would be one of the guys, I will say this, that would make it into the flex as something random for me. I just don't have a lot of punts tonight. Like I don't see a lot of these cheap options that I think I'm going to need to take a shot on, even if realistically to me, whether there's points or not, whatever theory you're going with here, it feels way more like you're going to have it where it's still going to be one of these, regular sort of options that you're used to with the floor ceiling combinations that just end up in there anyway. And then I thought someone said Tucker maybe made it in there too. Check it out. Maybe a Tucker game as well. But yeah, pardon me while I go rent a crane, says Nick. What was this? Where you at, Travis?
But our guy Brian Crowell's back. He was the one with the wheelchair. Can you elaborate on that story? Because I'm kind of curious if there's any validity to it on Grandma's wheelchair.
Oh, man. He's just letting it dangle from the crane up there beforehand. So, all right, let's keep it moving here, Hoop. I'm going to come back to you. Wide receivers, I guess the only ones we didn't really mention so far would be or at least enough, was Burks and NWI. Over for the Titans, the 2 options there. But I don't see a lot of other stuff. Do you have any of the Pittsburgh guys? Do you have any of those 2 that you want to talk about? Any other options at wide receiver you want to mention here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We talked about the Pittsburgh guys. I think both in play for captain. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins coming off the monster game. Good connection, obviously, with Levis. Had the huge game. I mean, biggest game he's had in a while. After that, though, it drives up in terms of captain plays. I don't think I want to go anywhere for the captain. I mean, Treylon Burks is a high upside type player. We saw it last season. Haven't seen any of that this year. Coming off a 2-target game last time out, is he a little bit healthier this time? Yeah, sure. And more of a connection, I'm sure, with the week of practice. But man, I can't get there in captain. I'll play a lot of these guys though in the flex, especially in Pickett and Levis captain teams. Treylon Burks, fine with him. Can throw Allen Robinson in there. He's only 2-2. Kyle Phillips, Kelvin Austin. Maybe a little Chris Moore if you're looking for a full-on punt. I think I want to avoid the full-on punts though today, to be honest with you. Like, I just want to focus on these guys that are going to get the solid option. I just don't know if a punt goes out there and gets like 3 or 4 if we need that today. So do want to avoid some of these really dusty plays like Chris Moore and Kyle Phillips. Don't mind some of the Kelvin Austin and then Westbrook, Akina. These guys are mostly going to be in quarterback captain type teams. It's just, man, it's ugly down here, and clicking these names, not a lot of fun.
Yeah. Title, your thoughts here. Like I said, there's not a lot of great options, but I think, again, these are the guys that I'm fine still swinging into these lineups, as will most be, but just like Burks, NWI, certain guys like that I could see, but I don't see a lot else. What do you got here at wide receiver?
Yeah, we touched on the main ones. The guys down here, we're talking about salary relief being really tough. I think Kyle Phillips is my favorite, the cheapest I'll go. He outsnapped Westbrook-Akine in the slot in 3 receiver sets last week, and he has a much better price than Westbrook-Akine as well. So I think that price is fine. Again, on this slate, though, when I'm not really expecting much scoring, not too many people are. I'm talking about leaving salary and stuff. I don't think the punts are really needed, but he would be my favorite. If I have to go the cheapest guy, I'd go like, no thanks really to Chris Moore. I don't really like Westbrook-Akine. I mentioned 3,400. Kyle Phillips outsnapped him. He's going to be low owned, but no thanks to me. It's the Allen Robinson. Definitely will be mixing him in. He's out there literally just for cardio, but at least when you're watching the game, you do know he is on the field, which is better than most of these punts down here. Couple catches, maybe he falls in the box once in a while, but they run a lot of 3 receiver sets, and he is out there $2,200 on a slate without a lot of value. Will definitely be in my pool. And then Treylon Burks, you mentioned 3,800. Man, it's so disappointing to start the year. A lot of hype was behind him. Then they got DeAndre Hopkins. That definitely has hurt him, but their passing game's been awful. He's going to be out there a bunch, 2 receiver sets. It's an upgrade in the passing game. Levis over Tannehill. He's $3,800 on a slate that, again, he's cheaper than kickers, cheaper than defenses on a slate that's pretty tough for salary. He's going to be on the field. I'll mix him in. How I'd rank those guys? Probably with the price, Robinson, Burks, Phillips, but not strong lean at all. That $2,200 price tag for Robinson, who's going to be on the field a ton. Just please catch a couple balls.
God, can he catch anything? I struggle with that. I'm going to try Burks out for sure. I like him a little bit more than the other guys, but I do have Robinson in the pool. It's just I don't know if I'll get enough. We've still got tight end, kickers, and defenses. Bigger topic tonight. We still got FanDuel. Still got the sim segment. So I'm going to let you guys know right now. I'm putting it in again. We're still like 18 shy, though. So I thought we'd get them faster. There's almost 250 people watching. We do want to give away the 6-month membership today at the end of this show. So if you can, do us a favor. It takes 2 seconds. We just popped it up there in the chat. We always ask for the like button. Even we asked for that again today. But if you don't hit that, just do this much. Go to the YouTube station, ours, SHIPIT Nation. It's right there. The link is in the chat. You can just open it up in a new window. Click subscribe there. And we are going to be giving away a random person a 6-month membership today. So just keep that in mind. Hoop, I don't have much else here at the wide receiver position. I'll come back to you. Tight end is pretty weak today. Chig for Tennessee. We got Hayward over on the other side. You could make cases for Washington or some other guys there. But for me, it looks like Chig would be the option that pops the most. And then anybody else that you want to mention there. If not, we can start talking kickers and defenses after that.
Yeah, we like the tight ends on Showdown. I mean, they've had a lot of success in these spots, but it's tough tonight. There's essentially two options. It's Chig, and he really hasn't done shit all year. He doesn't have a double-digit fantasy point game all season, so there's very limited upside. Want to play him in the flex? Sure. You want to play him? I'd prefer him in the flex on the Levis captain teams. And then we have Hayward at 2,800. I think he's one of the better cheap options on this slate without Freiermuth in there. 28 is very cheap. But again, even last week, only managed to get 7.4 fantasy points. He hasn't had any big games at all, but he's only 2.8, so I'm fine with him in the flex. Again, like him on those Pickett captain teams for sure. So 2 viable tight end options. I'm not going to play any of these cheap dudes. It's just Chig. It's Connor Hayward. Definitely prefer Hayward because of that price break, 2,800. Very, very cheap. And he's projecting well everywhere. Solid projection. So good with Hayward. Good with Chig. Not playing any of these other dust balls.
Yeah, I think if you're going Pickett captains, that would make a ton of sense, right? Just to fit in what you can pretty much get all the rest in there. So if that's how you're going to end up, that would make a ton of sense for that side. Where was it at here? Scary Creation said, I drafted Chig a lot in best ball. Maybe talk about this title. You're the best ball master. He said maybe he can get open. Any thoughts on him there? Because that's an option. And then Hoop just mentioned the Hayward piece, but I still have him as like a low end punt. I don't have a bunch of them, but just to say early on, I haven't finalized anything yet either. So talk to me about Chig with Scary Creations comment, and then give us your thoughts on Hayward. Anybody else that you want to mention?
He almost got there last week. He got to catch the ball first, but man, he was wide open and probably would have strolled in. Yeah, you got to catch it. I have way too much in best ball too. A lot of it prior or before D-Hop. But yeah, as far as the tight ends, it's no one besides Chig and Hayward. But I think a good talking point is let's rank them amongst those other receivers we just talked about. And I prefer these 2 tight ends over A-Rob, over Burks, over Phillips, over all those guys. Personally, both getting a ton of snaps. 2 good defenses, so I expect pressure on both sides, security blankets, checkdowns. I like them more than the receiver bums that we were talking about. How do you guys see that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Same boat. Like I want these guys over those cheap wide receivers. And in terms of that kicker captain, someone, our guy Joe mentioned it. It was we keep talking about it. No one played it. It was optimal, but no one.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that back up. That's our guy Kevlar in the Discord. Yeah, he brought it, and that's what DJ says. She has 0. You're checking the winners, though. He's checking the optimals. It's a little different, so you're on pace.
You made her check every team. But
you're checking the winning. Her original comment stands true. She said, "I checked every winning lineup. Not a single winning lineup this season for winning shipping it, which is what we're all about, has had the kicker captain." But that's what we remembered it from. To Kevlar Joe's point, he said that there was one slate. Everyone said, I can't believe someone didn't have the kicker lineup in the way this game, and et cetera, et cetera. So just the way it goes sometimes. Connor Hayward, I thought he was 800. He's 2,800.
Yeah.
28. Yeah.
So I have him underneath. I would still find the money for Chig personally. And I think I still like Burks better as well, but Hayward would be right there in that secondary mix. So just my thoughts on it. Go ahead, Hoop, if you had something else you were adding there.
Well, I'll just say this. Yeah, he's 9,200 though. They priced him like Pickett would be out. So even if somehow Pickett got out in the first quarter, you need him, Trubisky, to actually come in and do something at that price. Yeah. So it's not something I really ever do. If he was 5K, 4K, I think.
Usually it's 6K is the backup 6K, guy, right?
Yep.
Then it'd be something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's 9.2, so I can't do that.
If you want to burn a lineup or 2, I don't hate it, but it's tough. It's always tough, and then the price matters more, like you said. Did you say you want to add something else there, Hoop? I can't remember if you were.
No. Good.
Okay, then I do want to bring up one thing quick too, because Axe Terrell says, haven't got around to buying a subscription just yet, but subscribe to both channels, my guys. First off, truly appreciate it. Second, I don't think enough people get that. Like, if you can't subscribe, that's okay. We do all our shows for free. We have some great partnerships here with Mayo doing these shows on the Mayo Media Network. We've got the Wednesday and Friday NBA shows at 3:30 Eastern. We've got these shows on Monday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for football, for the showdown slates. And then we've got the Sunday morning, our main show that we do every week, the signature. We call it the NFL show. We don't put any special names on it this season. Next year we might do it, but we've been doing just fine. Appreciate all your guys' support when it comes to that. But if you can't afford a membership or you don't have one yet, whatever it might be, the code Mayo helps get you 10% off. But even if you can't, that's what it's all about. Subscribe to the channel, get better at your game, take in the free information, apply it tonight, go out and play. Someone asked me this the other day, Title. They said like, oh, my wife said I haven't won yet, so like I'm going to have to stop playing at the end of the season. It's actually a member. They said, and so I'm not calling them out, put their name on the board, but they said, I don't know if I'll be able to renew my membership. And I said, first off, that's okay. It's like if you can only come in for a month and check it out, that's awesome. Thank you. It's why we priced it as low as we did. So if you have other sites that you go to, great. If you want to add it on, or if you don't have a lot of money and you want to get as much possible for as value for as little as possible, that too. But I said, like, it is part of it, right? Playing the games is part of it. You're paying your tuition. That's why we always say pay less for content, play more contests. You don't just, if you're trying to be a doctor or something, you don't just get to wake up one day and be one. You got to go out and pay for school and go to school, and then you get the job down the road. It's the same with anything in life. So it's just, we've chosen DFS and you're choosing it as a hobby or a side game or something like that. But putting in the work is important. If all you can do is watch the free shows, that's awesome. You're putting in the work to become a better player. That's what we're all about. When you win money from that, come by a membership, get in the Discord, similar like-minded individuals, similar goals, mindsets, like-minded individuals. Check it all out. It's all a lot of the same people in there that are just trying to do the same thing, get better at their game and win money. That's the ultimate setup there. Have fun while doing it. Title, do you have thoughts on that stuff? And then anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just general DFS, just like GPP life. I think a lot of people just don't understand. A lot of tournaments only pay out 20%. So right there, you expect to win 1 out of 5 days if you're just doing math that way. And that's saying you're doubling your money at a min cash when you do win that day. So your graph's going to be down, 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 down. When you win, how much you win, boom. You just won your 100K, all that. You were probably down, 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 way above because of one win. It's not how much you win. It's when you win, how much you do. If you can't stomach down, 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 like I couldn't for years and years, I was in the cash streets. 50% they pay out, double as 45. And that's true. I honestly could not lose for months. Like, I could not do that mentally. I knew that. So I chose not to go that route. I can cash in cash games a lot more, but I also know I wouldn't have those 6-figure hits or whatever it may be. So just know the game you're playing too. GPPs, it's a tough life out there, especially nowadays, how top heavy these tournaments are.
Hockey keeps selling this. It's not guaranteed to be that, but it's likely. I'm just saying. But either way, to your point, yes. And I can give a prime example. I won 100K last week. It's not a brag. It's awesome, but you have to wait your turn. Like I've been, weeks 1 through 7 were, etchy and down. And then you get that massive spike. That's what you're playing for. And now it's a great spot. Now get some momentum rolling. King of the Beach playing week. All these other factors, what I'm waiting to see happen. But even if I hadn't won last week, the King of the Beach thing would have been like, that's why I like playing those. Like, I know that I'm going to just go slowly, but pick up these tickets and then hope to have things capitalized at King of the Beach. Like it's worked out for me in the past. That's really what you're hoping to do. So I definitely think that, now Laser brings up a good one. My wife hates DFS. I think she's just jealous that I have a second family that I chat with online a few days a week. That's usually the case too, right? They're always sitting over your shoulder. Oh, who's that you're texting? It's like eventually it has to go away, but you do need.
Well, they hate it until you bring in that big prize. You get the big prize and they suddenly love it. But if you're on a downswing, they go right back to hating it real quick.
Just don't tell them anything. Don't tell them
exactly. That's the professional way to go. Just don't let them know the big time wins. Don't let them know the
Tokyo.
big losses.
There's the setup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do with my money. That's perfect. Yeah. So. Yes. We appreciate everyone watching. Another good guy here, M. Andrews 93 DFS says, actually think it's a decent football game. Pittsburgh crowd is going to be lit and the passing game is healthy in a plus matchup. That's how Hoop said it off the top, right? He said it definitely could still be a thing. So
I think there's a chance.
And I'm in on this one too, by the way. Discord greater than TikTok if you want to start an argument. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. But anything else here? If not, Title, I'll let you talk a little bit about these kickers and defenses. We had the chat going back and forth about how it can't be a kicker, and then others saying, well, it easily can be because the likely scores that we're going to see tonight. So give us your takes on kickers and defenses. Anything else that you want to talk about here?
It's also true. Yeah. Just to wrap that up, that is true. Yeah, you do win the millie. You get a long rope. That is for sure.
Yeah, only one can speak on the panel.
I don't got that one.
No. Yeah. So I don't like either really in the captain spot. I get it. You're probably going to talk a little bit. It totally could work. A very low scoring game, 2 great defenses. There should be pressure. I think they'll be overowned at the end of the day. I'm just going to keep not really doing that. I don't like kickers there either. However, the flex spot, defenses will be higher owned than the kicker, which we don't always see. And I think by a decent margin, DraftKings has continued to price up kickers on Showdown, which I like. They used to be like 3,400 and stuff, and they were very, very chalky. I like what they've done with the price. Folk all the way up at 46 and Boswell at 5K. Whereas you look at the defenses, Steelers are 56, Titans 44, but do project better. I think I'm leaning the kickers a little bit, but I will be underweight on these defenses. 25, 30%, I think somewhere around there they come in at. I just think that's overowned. And as far as the kickers, probably 20, 15%. I think that's much more fair, and I'll take a shot there. Hopefully they stall in the red zone. And no Raiders pick six or any action like that that'll bury me earlier. But, yeah, I think I'll be underweight defenses because a lot of people are going to gravitate to them, and I'll go the other way.
This is the best one, by the way.
Yeah, that's so good. I was about to click on
funny.
that too.
With 100K, it's like my girl's showing me $4 million houses. Like you got the down payment now, and you're in. But now, what about the mortgage? Right? It's just hilarious.
That's unfortunately not even close to the down payment.
You're missing a zero on the 100K there to make it worth it. Yeah, you want the $1 million down to have 25%.
Love that comment.
I'm Canadian though too with him, so I know what he's saying. But you can get away with it. But you'd want at least put $1 million down on that thing. I think you need like 20% to avoid some of these fees that they try and tack on. So tell you just got to have a better week this week, win the millie. But Hoop, I'll go back to you on this. I'll say it quickly, I guess. But I like I said, I'm building like pretty much 3 ways tonight. It'll be in the slate plan over on SHIPITNation.com. I break it all down there. One of the ways is definitely going to be that this is a disgusting low scoring game. There'll be some double D's in the flex. There'll be some stuff like that where, speaking of our guy Double D, still haven't seen him, but double D's in the flex. And then in captain, I think they are probably overowned, but it's like that's the only way to go if you're going to have it that type of game. Like if you look in the captain, I'm seeing like 5%, maybe 6%. That's high. But if you get like 10% of them in the captain, then you're overweight on it. Double up, just for those smaller set that I'm doing. I think I could have some of that. So we'll see how it actually shakes out at the end of the night.
Are you more inclined to do that large field or small field? Or
definitely,
do you not look at it?
I like it in small for sure, because I think in small it's usually a lot of players are like, oh, everyone's going to do that, so I'm not. And it's funny, it's like a leveling game where it actually goes the other way. But I will say we've seen it plenty of times last season when the Ds were getting overowned, that eventually it was like people said it and then it didn't happen. And then the D was 5% in the captain. And I was like, well, it got there and they had all the rest of the chalk jammed in, and it was still a unique, not a unique shipper, but like a, smaller dupe group that ended up getting to the top because of that. So either way, it's just how I've got stuff popping right now. It's going to be in the under games, but I don't know, Hoop, you can talk about, you think there's going to be a lot more points?
Chance
these
for
quarterbacks.
I don't necessarily think that there's going to be more points. I think there is a chance. I mean, the Steelers. I'm hoping, yes. My pockets will be hoping for some scoring. All right, let's put it that way. I think there is a chance. Levis looked pretty good. Their offense was way more efficient. Was it a one-time thing? Does the short week interfere with that? A lot of question marks, but I think there's a chance. They have the Steelers have their 2 main wide receivers out there as well. Hayward's look pretty good. Najee Harris sucks, but they have 2 running backs they can use out there if one's not effective. I think there's a chance we see scoring. I hope we see some scoring. The defenses, there's no doubt about it. I do think will be overowned. Like, we've seen this trend this season. When a defense is unoptimal, the next slate, that ownership goes way up. And it was Monday night. Raiders get the bullshit, pick 6. These defenses are going to be owned tonight because honestly, there's just not a ton of options that you're going to feel comfortable clicking. I'll do what I always do. I don't need to talk about it. I talk about it on every show. Like, whatever I get for them, I get. I don't really do much hand building for Showdown. I'm primarily focused on 150, so I'm going to put them in there. Whatever I get, I get. I won't have them in the captain. The kickers, though, I am somewhat concerned with tonight because the stadium. I mean, it's just not a good stadium to kick in. And now we've seen the increased price tags as well. These kickers are up. Boswell's $5K, Folk is $4,600. So they got to do just a little bit more, I think. So not thrilled to play them either, to be honest with you. So this is a slate where I could have a very consolidated overall player pool, not necessarily in the captain, because I am going to play probably more captain guys than I typically do. But in my flex, I could have a very consolidated flex pool. So, if my guys hit, I have a much clearer path to the top. So not really going to be forcing in the kickers or defenses tonight. And that's how I'll be addressing these 2 positions.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing on it. Well, I do, you guys. I just posted the link in there. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the Mayo Media Network, do so. But most of you commenting, that means you already have. But just open up this link in another tab. We need about 10 more subscribers to hit the 4K. And then we'll get, after the sim segment, to the 6-month winner. But I will say this too. I say this in golf DFS all the time. I know it's a football show, but a lot of people have played golf DFS or other sports. Like when someone says, oh, this guy's going to be 25%, like that's too much on him, but the week is so bad and all this. And golf's different because it's a higher variance, but people say you can't just play the number because then you're just paying the rake. And it's like, well, what if I play him with all high leverage guys? Well, I'm playing him different than the rest of the field. And I will say this, the comment that the defenses are going to be owned, I think is correct. Over-owned is subjective. And the reason I say that is because let's say the defense is coming tonight the same as Monday night's ownership. Well, I think the defenses are way more likely to hit on this slate. So really, their ownership should be pushed up even more than the Monday night game. They're just getting the same ownership. So again, it's all subjective, and people run their sims, and we will at the end and all that stuff. But as far as defenses go, I think there's definitely ways to get different with them. We already see it all the time. Like, wasn't it just the other night? The 3-way chop or whatever it was, I think, for 300K. And it was 2-way,
wasn't it?
Two-way.
Yeah.
And I think it was they just played the opposite defense.
Oh yeah, because I had the other defense in there. It was the Lions defense. They won by the Raiders defense beat the Lions by 1 point, and that was the difference between 300,000 for those two guys that chopped it up top, and then I don't know, there's like I think 70 people behind with that other team. So yeah, it paid off. For sure. Yeah,
so it can. And I mean, that's just a way that you can use defense differently. We've talked forever about against the quarterback being one, but for less duplicates, it's definitely a thing. But then in general, you can definitely leave money on the table. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. And I think the defense at least makes more sense against these two quarterbacks. If, Trubisky does somehow come in, the defense could just keep it rolling there. Like there's a few different ways, but even with not anything crazy happening, I just think with these two quarterbacks, it's definitely possible.
It goes back to what you always say in all the sports, not just this. It's like it's not who you play, it's how you play them, and that's how you can apply it here. If you do think that these defenses come in over-owned, whatever you think that is. Like for me, defenses coming in at like 30, 35%, that's over-owned for me, and I really don't want much to do with it at that point. But if you think it's more likely that they end up on the optimal, but they are going to have some of this ownership coming along with it, build it in a way that other people aren't. And like, Tambo, you're definitely one of the best in the industry at doing that sort of thing. So I see what you're saying there.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Cause this is like scary. He's always in here. Great. We appreciate the sport. Great in here. Always talking about, says the D's are going to be owned. Pickett sucks. Pittsburgh is home, going against the rookie, known to get sacks, owned rightfully so. But that's my point. And he's with it. It sounds like it's like, man, this is the thing. If they just come in at the same 20 to 25% that we've seen the last 5 out of 6 slates, it feels like every slate they're coming in at that number. This would have been if you started me back before being results oriented and said, okay, what slate should defenses be this percentage? This would probably rank as number 1 if we knew who was starting at the quarterbacks and things like that. So I just see it a little bit differently, but that's fine. I think that's the best part of these shows and going through them. And again, I like building in sets. I'll have lineups like that. I'll have lineups without that. There's lots of different ways you can build it for this one. I definitely think this is going to be a fun slate. The more time that we've spent on it, I definitely think that, and you talked me into it. So anything else that we want to bring up here, guys? If not, Hoop, you can talk.
I'll bring up, someone mentioned it. Sean Sullivan. Well, I can't find the thing, but 2 injury or 1 on both sides. Minka Fitzpatrick on the Steelers side and Kevin Byard got traded safety from the Titans to the Eagles. And Minka the best on the Steelers and Kevin Byard a complete stud too. So helps me a little bit, like in the pass catchers, skill position players. Yeah. I think both teams could turn into pass funnels. So yeah, Sean Sullivan, thanks for reminding me on that. There it is right here.
Let's hammer that over, baby. Let's hammer that over.
Yeah, someone said earlier that they think it's over 45. You should be hammering. It hasn't barely moved. It's still at 37. I think it's a trap anyway. Like it's just the number that makes people think like, oh, that's a little bit too light. And then we get like 12-3 and the game's just as shitty as we always thought. That's kind of where I lean, but who knows? 17-10 might be good. You guys can start throwing your scores in. Before we get to the sim segment, though, I'm going to let Hoop take over first and talk a little bit just about FanDuel. I'm actually going to pull it up here, Hoop, and not to run sims on it, but just to say if you want to mention anything on FanDuel, you can do so now. But just let me pull it up here quick.
Yeah, so another slate where it's pretty soft pricing, and this one rightfully so. Like last week, we had legitimate guys, who was it? Devontae Adams was super cheap. Jimmy G was 11.5, which ended up being overpriced because, man, that was awful. That was one of the worst quarterback performances of the season. But today, rightfully so, lower pricing. And we have Derrick Henry up top at 16, Levis at 15. Then it comes down pretty quickly. The other quarterback, Pickett, only 13.5. Very cheap price tag there. Pickens is $14K, so that's probably a pretty appropriate price. He might be a little bit lower owned than some of these other pass catchers. You have Hopkins at 13, DeAndre Johnson at 12,000. Then you get to the running backs. We got Najee Harris, 11K, Jalen Warren, 10K. I like Najee better on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings, to be honest. Again, I talked about it with Najee, where on DK, I think if he finds the end zone, he's probably a guy you need at least in the flex. On FanDuel, if he finds the end zone, you definitely will need him in the flex spot. So I'm fine with him over there at 11K. Kickers, 9K, 8,500, probably where they should be. Defenses, though, are in the same range as the kickers. 9.5 for the Steelers, 9K for the Titans. People will be playing defenses over kickers in that scenario. In terms of cheap options, is there anything cheap? Treylon Burks at 6.5, I think, is a good price tag. That's very, very cheap for him. Chig is 7K, Hayward 7.5. So you have Burks cheaper than the tight ends over there. I think that's a very solid, cheap option. And that's about it, though. I mean, nothing truly stands out over there.
I like that Burks call. Again, maybe others catch on to it, but it does show currently around similar ownership. And so I can see that. That's definitely an option there. Spears is getting a little love, it looks like, as far as Run the Sims ownership projections on the FanDuel stuff. And then they've got the MVP ownerships up here as well that you can check out on the site. Again, if you guys want to go to Run the Sims, go to runthesims.com. Use promo code SHIPIT. Gets you 10% off. I'll bring up the other slate. Before I do, want to show you guys this here as well. You go to shipitnation.com. You can go to testimonials and see what others are saying. There's been some testimonials, some great ones here in the chat today. You can go and meet the team. If you don't know who we are, you can go check it out, find out a little bit more about us. You can check out all the stuff we offer on the site, what the education courses are, what we offer for each sport. You can just click the drop downs. If you want to just click NFL, you can actually scroll through and see all of the stuff that we have on the site with examples. And then when you're back on the site, it's easy. The site runs super quick. You go to join the nation. We're up and running super quickly. You just go join now, whatever plan you choose, scroll down, type in Mayo, no issues. Everything's good to roll on our site here. So $62 a month. That works out to like $14 a week. If you want to throw your email in there, we've got some new setup here. You can get special, no newsletters, so you're not going to get bombarded, but any special offers, exclusive announcements. We may have some soon. We've been teasing this for a while, but you have to be patient. Contests and more. You just throw your email in, click sign up. It's just another added way to get in, but lots to check out over at Ship It Nation. Let's get into this. Let's go to Run the Sims. If you guys haven't used it, all you're doing here is you're going to DFS tools, NFL, the Sim Runner. I'm turning off the pro mode for this one just so we can run the Sims, but the slate, we're going down and choosing it. It's right here, Tennessee, Pittsburgh. The inputs we'll get to in a second. The settings are set up to run 10,000 simulations on here. We'll do that. Hoop, give me your first score, man. What do you want to see here? You're the points guy. Who's got the points for you?
There were some options. Okay, well, you want to do the points first or the no points? And I want to be careful on the one that we do with maybe we will kind of handpick this one, but with the lower scoring games, because I feel sometimes if you get into one of those field goal scores, like it just automatically.
Let's go that.
So,
yes, I agree. I was just
before the show. Jordan was the first one. It's meant to be.
That's perfect because it would insinuate like one field goal essentially.
Then you think of a high scoring one, Hoop. Whatever you
simple,
see it going down.
Throw in the scores, press Run the Sims. We'll get our optimal results. I'll do a quick run through for those. Shout out to our guy, MYG Fans, is passing through meetings. We'll hit the like button for the folks. We appreciate it, man. He said Hines kickers struggle from. So he's going with the crowd that says it can't be the kickers tonight either. Go back to Newens there if you can find him. I know he's got the 17-10 up. So let's check it out here. If you guys are just checking this out for the first time, these are the optimal results based on the 10,000 simulations on a 10-17, just going top to bottom here, the way I'm saying it for that score. And it shows the ownership in the flex and the ownership in the captain. And then it shows the rate in the flex and the rate in the cap. That's saying in the simulations, 54.2% of the time, Pickett came back in the flex versus 57% owned. But he came back heavily in the captain, 13.3 versus a projected 9%. So Pickett is a good captain option. Derrick Henry comes way down. He's going to be somewhere around 18% in the captain, they're suggesting. I think maybe a little less, but let's just say he is 18. They're only getting him coming back in the Sims at 10% in the captain. So looking at things like this, Title, you brought this score up. Anything here stand out for you? Any of the certain guys that you want to talk about or bring up? I'll pull it down just a little bit more so people can see some of the options at the bottom as well.
Yeah, it's the quarterbacks because I mentioned it and I was trying to talk through it, and I'm glad to see this. I'm interested to see what the quarterback captains will be in a high scoring game. But my thought is just 17-10, like because Pickett and Levis do have some rushing upside, QB sneaks are always in play. I think the lower scoring game could get quarterbacks there more, and this is showing that positive leverage for Pickett, good amounts. Levis just very slightly negative. That's what stood out to me for sure, and I'm very curious to see the high scoring game, how that changes things.
Which is interesting too, because it's because of the facts of the obvious. Like a quarterback would be more involved because he gets the ball in his hands every single time. They're putting up only 17 points. He should be part of it. But that's where this throws me off a little bit sometimes. I know how it runs and it's past data and stuff like that, but that's why, I don't know. I don't always love it or believe in it in this sense of not run the Sims, just in general, just to say it like, I would want to play with this more. I think if we have a 17-10 game, I don't think they're only rushing the ball 45% of the time. So it's not, I love run the Sims. I use it religiously. I think you guys should too. I'm saying that if you're going to do what we do, I'm more making fun of what we do, the way we just plug a score in and go. I think in a 17-10 score, you'd want to change the rush rate and the rush TD rate a little bit more. And that would swing things. Why I don't, I'm not trying to maneuver the results here, but I think like Najee or Jaylen Warren would pop up a little bit more if we saw this score. Just my take. I think Kenny Pickett gets more involved if they're putting up points because he has more time to rush with his legs. He's going to throw it to more guys and get more involved. It would spread out more. Just my take on this. Hoop, did you have extra additive to what I was just?
Yeah, I think that the one thing I don't understand though is why Folk would be. They're looking for Folk in 44% of lineups here when they score 10. So one field goal and one touchdown. I mean, it must just be a pricing thing. They need one cheap guy. They're not projecting a lot of cheap guys to do anything. Yeah, so it's got to be what it is then. So in that sort of build, you need one cheap guy, and Folk going out and getting 5 to 6 fantasy points is enough.
I also think you need one guy from the other side. And if you can't get to Levis, Henry is extremely negative leverage. Hayward is looking really good. So if they're already using Hayward, it may just be that you have to land on a Folk, and it's probably liking these 5-1s and 4-2 builds. That would be another thing that I would see here to say that's one of those things that can happen. So anything else on this one, boys? If not, let's plug in the higher score now. Hoop, what do you have for the big score?
Sean put in 30-24. I think think
for the Titans, though.
Yeah, Titans, yeah. So we did Steelers that last one. Titans, big win here. So let's see.
The other thing, too, I just can't see. This is probably a problem I have, but like Vrabel versus Tomlin, just a battle. Can you see those two? They're going to be livid on the sidelines if we got 30 points getting dropped on their ass. Like that is just not what they want to do. And I could just see that being part of it as well, where I think the 37 is, holy shit, I think there's no way there's not at least 40 points. And then it's like really bad, but we'll see.
Here's another reason to not buy into the high score stuff. That the last time Deontay Johnson caught a touchdown was from Big Ben.
that is a good stat too, Dan. What do we got here?
For reason to not buy into this sort of score, that's it right there. Or that's one of the reasons.
Both quarterbacks look huge here. Like again, Will Levis. Even if you think this is wrong at 38, and you think it's more like 45, he's still showing up in the Sims 50% of the time in the flex. Huge at captain, though. Even if you think he's more closer to 10 in the captain, he's showing up 20% of the time in this. So, like I said, that would make sense. He's spreading it out. I know last week you're going to say one game he didn't spread it out. He threw them all to Hopkins, but the chances of that happening, we don't see very many 3 TD games either. So you're going to see it where he's going to be involved. He's going to spread it out more, but you'll see Hopkins 11% of the time. You'll see Henry 11% of the time. Now, Henry is still negative leverage if you believe the 18 at the captain, and it doesn't like him as much in the flex either. Kenny Pickett, much more at the captain, like Levis. And then some of the other ones, like not a bunch there, but again, Folk gets just a huge boost here. He goes up to 32% in the flex. So just one note there from 14%. But Title, I'll kick it to you first. Anything you're seeing here that stands out to you?
They love these quarterbacks, and they don't like these Henrys and Deontays, who I like. It makes sense because it's such a high-scoring game, but when you look at it too, it's like, I mean, it's so concentrated on the Tennessee side, and I guess the Pittsburgh side is definitely a little more spread out, but it's not changing my mind, but maybe I should consider quarterbacks a little more. I don't know. Are you going to mess with your quarterback captain exposure? I mean, when we're talking, what is this, 30-24, so 54, like 18 points above total. So it is an outlier, but they liked him in a low-scoring game too. So I have a feeling they liked him in many scores.
The one thing that stood out to me, though, is we all love, like, look what we said. The 3 of the 4 we've been talking about the whole show at captain was Pickens, Deontay, and DeAndre Hopkins on the other side. And it's, again, it likes the quarterbacks, but it's loving these plays. Like, look at Nick Folk, look at Connor Hayward, look at Tyjae Spears. Like, again, this is in this score, but I'm just saying it's not, it likes them. They're still showing up in 38 to 48% of all lineups over 10,000 sims, so 3,800 or 4,800 lineups. It is still saying that, man, everybody likes those. It could end up being, and then I like this comment. He didn't fully go all the way through with it, but he said he might throw 4 INTs instead, but he could throw 4 touchdowns to the other side. That would be something here tonight. If that happens, then we will have a D captain if that's the way it rolls. But Hoop, did you see anything with this one, or did any other angles stand out for you in the higher scoring game?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes back to the raw scoring environment where we just need raw fantasy points, because I have a feeling no matter what the score is we put in, these quarterbacks are going to continue to show, and you're going to continue to need these guys. So that's something that I'll potentially be applying. I mean, if the quarterback comes out and gets, this is a slate where if a quarterback gets 13 or 14, like in a low-scoring game, you're just going to need them. Like we talked about it. Who was it? Josh Allen. We were shocked. One slate. That was an outlier situation. But in a game that's potentially low-scoring, a 13 or 14, you look at it and you're going to be disappointed. But you might just need that in your teams on this sort of slate if you are buying into the 36 total. So I don't know. There's just not many game scripts where I don't see these quarterbacks being a necessity.
I think you're probably right. It just looks like, again, when I first started, back to answering Title's first question about, exposure at the captain, I see Levis up there because I just don't see another 3-touchdown Hopkins game. I think it's going to be spread out. I think he'd find his way around it, wheel out, things like that. I saw options. I also, obviously, as most people know about me, want to play the other side. I think a lot of people are going to play Pittsburgh 4-2s or Pittsburgh 3-3s. And when I say Pittsburgh 3-3s, I mean 3-3s with a Pittsburgh player in the captain. So if I see those two being popular, then I'm always going to lean to the other side of that. I think this type of game fits that perfectly. And then someone else mentioned it earlier, like you could easily see a 5-1 for either side of this game where it just ends up being that one side gets there. I just thought it was pretty interesting that a lot of these cheaper plays popped, and I would give the running backs a little bit more love too. So it's kind of like a potential to play all the guys that you know and expect, but flip the build a little bit where it's not just the Deontay Pickens Hopkins show as most people expect it to be because of low scoring equals PPR points and bonuses racking up. I definitely think there'll be some builds where I go the other way on it. Anything else, Title, that you wanted to talk about, or any final thoughts that you have? We did come up 10 shy on the subscribers, but I'm confident enough that we will get there after the rewatches and the playbacks on this show. So Hoop, you can go through, find a random winner throughout. I'll let Title do his final thoughts. I'll give mine. Then we'll come to you for the winner. Title, final thoughts on this slate. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Yeah, just the final thoughts when we were looking at the Sims, the folks, the cheap ones showing up. I think that's probably has a lot to do with value being really gross today. So if Folk does kick 2 field goals or something, he's very cheap. It allows you to go Levis, Pickett, DeAndre Hopkins. Like you can fit all the studs in the flex. But I will say be wary about that a little bit, because even though Folk 1.7% captain owned or whatever these cheap ones are, it's still, if you're leaving 0 salary and you're even with a very low owned captain, a cheap punt, and you just fill it out 0 salary, all the studs, it's going to be duped way more than you think. So you still have to think about if you are punting cheap captain. And part of the reason why I just don't really like it that much today, and I'll be spending, I still like the skill position guys, but I'm going to consider the quarterbacks maybe a little more after run the Sims. But I'm still definitely on the pass catcher side, the Hopkins, the Henrys, the Pickens, the Deontay Johnsons. You can leave salary. Pittsburgh will be higher on the 4-2s, 5-1s, 3-3s, Pitts. So you can always flip the bill, 3-3 Titans, 4-2 Titans, stuff like that. And it's a close spread. Wouldn't be crazy to see that at all. So, yeah, it should be not necessarily a fun game, but again, solo ship, less than 10. Like these are the games and the slates that you can see some crazy teams win. What was it, last year on the Thursday game? It was Denver, someone else. They left like 6,000 on the table or 10,000 on the table and won a milli solo. Like You get games like that, you can see some crazy, crazy things.
Yeah, I agree. And I love those last couple builds you said, like the Tennessee 3-3s or the Tennessee 4-2s. I like those. I think 5-1s will be under-owned tonight. People just see easy to fit options for both sides. We saw it likes both quarterbacks. It had a cheap punt on both sides and all that. And before I go to hoop, got to address this one. My friend, I'm like never angry at anything. I think I'm the nicest guy there is out there. And it's just one of those things. But I also have a lot to be happy about. Coming off a pretty good Sunday, my friend. So nothing that I'm angry about. I can assure you of that. Hoop, your final thoughts and our winner for this contest. We got to pick a 6-month winner, somebody, and it won't be Fernando. I can tell you that. Talking about my angry ass, that ain't true.
Fernando Rodney, you know who that is, right?
Who?
He's a former closer for the Detroit Tigers. So he's a professional athlete, Mr. Fernando Rodney. He was the one that always would have you see the picture, and there always have the hat cocked to the side.
That's what he's got on there right now. That's what my man
Yeah,
has.
there it is. Yeah. Oh, so he's with the Rays as well, but he's with the Tigers for a while. So
Rays,
athlete. But when you think of angry human beings, like Tambo's at the bottom of the list. I talk to Tambo multiple times per day, and he's the happiest dude. Even when you think he's going to be unhappy, he's happy. So that statement is very untrue. In terms of this game, yeah, I mean, a lot of different ways. You just got to pick how you think this game goes, low scoring, high scoring, that sort of thing, and roll with it. I mean, a lot of different ways to build teams today. A lot of, I think, wide range of outcomes in terms of what the winning lineup could potentially look like on the slate. And it's like, to Title's point, it's a good opportunity to, obviously not get a solo shipper. I mean, very difficult to do, but really limit the number of dupes for the winner tonight. So like that angle. In terms of the winner for the show here today, one thing we pride ourselves on here at SHIPIT Nation is, improving your skills at daily fantasy sports, making you a better player yourself, providing the content to get you there. But another thing, we really want to take care of not only our people, but our people's family members. And we really, really love supporting the elderly community. And we cannot have elderly people on the streets without any form of transportation. So we got to win back this money for our guy, Brian. Like, he's got to get that wheelchair for grandma. Like, grandma has to get her wheels back. And I think it's a good opportunity for him to do that with being the winner here on this show.
Brian, the winner, got to get grandma her wheels back. Just an incredible winner. We love to see it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate all the subscriptions that you guys are doing over there on our YouTube station as well. Free to subscribe. That one doesn't cost money. If you guys want to get in, I showed it here. NFL, we've got everything covered for the main slates. We've got other slates, tiers, afternoon, prime time. But tonight for Showdown, we'll have the projections and ownership. We'll have the core reports. We'll have the player pool that Hoop does, my slate plan, everything. Get in there now, $69, $359. $5.99 is going away soon, but you can use promo code MAYO. It gets you 10% off, and you'll be able to get access to all of the sports that we cover, everything that comes with it. And then the Discord community, can't say enough about that. Everybody in there knows what I'm talking about and loves it. Brian, congrats to you. Reach out to us, info@shipitnation.com with a screenshot of your YouTube account. It'll let us know that it's actually you. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Title, for my main guy, Hoop, I'm ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.